Let's look inside some of the stocks on the move. Genworth has been kind of well ticked off, but Regis Resource have seen a recovery as well after some earlier losses. Why do you think investors are starting to give it a little bit of slack, cut it some slack?
Yeah, Carson, definitely when we saw the stock coming on this morning, we saw investors reacting pretty negatively to that, of course, as a result of them expecting this loss and net profits down almost up to 60% on FY13. So it certainly didn't look all that positive. But in terms of that asset impairment that's been flagged, that was actually announced back in May by the company. So I don't think there were any too big surprises coming out of that in terms of that impairment. So I think that was probably to be slightly expected, and potentially as a result we've seen a bit of a turnaround in the stock. But also if we have a look at some of the other numbers that have come in, they do in fact look like they've come in sort of slightly ahead of our expectations, potentially some other analysts' expectations out there. So for the quarter, their total gold production came in at 66,000 ounces, which was in fact about 10% above our estimates. And for the full year, their gold production came in at 271,000 ounces, which was about 2% above our estimates. So overall, it didn't look too bad, and potentially why we are seeing a bit of a turnaround. But overall, there certainly were negatives, particularly in terms of those cash costs. They have come in very high and certainly above our estimates as well, and that really does remain one of our key concerns going forward. And I think another one of the concerns is around that McPhillamy gold project. We do know that now has been placed on hold. The company won't be undertaking any further drilling in that one as a result of that gold price falling off over 20% since they acquired that. So again, another negative out of that one. But overall, as I said, I think our concern long term is around the high cash costs involved with this company. We certainly still, remain pretty cautious on the outlook, but has been an interesting performance today.
Okay, Tabcorp's bought the ACT TAB operations, paid about $105.5 million. That gets it exclusivity for what, about 15 odd years?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So they'll sign this agreement for 50 years, and they, in return, will pay about a licence fee of about $1 million each year. So looking at the performance today, does look like investors have reacted well to this. In long term, it does certainly look positive, and it certainly looks like it will complement some of their existing wagering and keno businesses, of course, across Victoria and New South Wales as well. But one of the bigger ones is that they are expecting earnings to come in at about $14 million following the integration, which is due to happen sort of over the next 12 months or so. And post that, they are expecting that to be earnings per share accretive. So again, I think investors taking to that one well today. Looking at this stock though, I think one of the broader concerns that may potentially in the long run overshadow this acquisition today is in fact around those ongoing legal proceedings with the Victorian government. We know that Tabcorp now is challenging the High Court in relation to that recent decision where they in fact have to pay those penalties in relation to those poker machine levies to the Victorian government. So that's going to have an impact on their earnings. I think they flagged about $19 million. So I think long term that's probably one of the biggest concerns around this stock at this stage. But certainly today's news looking pretty positive. Yep,
and investors liking that, setting it up over 1%. More broadly, the market on a tilt.
It is, Carson. Yeah. It's been quite an interesting one today. We were certainly expecting it this morning to sort of be a pretty flat one, investors sort of sitting on the sidelines ahead of a lot of this key data out of the US. But it does look like we're having a pretty strong performance today. All sectors trading in the green. Although we can't be too excited, we are still on very low volumes, which really is this continuing theme. Our two biggest sectors of the market, materials as well as financials, both doing very well. Financials up about 0.6%, and we have in fact seen CBA reaching that record high as well, so another positive out of that. And also that materials sector being led higher by Atlas Iron after we did see that iron ore price coming through higher overnight. So overall, a very strong performance today, hoping we will be able to continue this positive momentum.
And end of month tomorrow, which should indeed just bring back some measure of activity, if nothing less.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Leanne. We'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thanks, Carson.